We got a Monday night game with the Houston Texans and the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to deep dive this matchup. Look at the must starts, look at the sneaky starts, look at the guys you want to bench. We're going to deep dive the analytics and just talk about these players and what could happen in this matchup. But before we dig in, you need to drop what you need from this matchup. What points you need from X player to win your matchup. You already got your lineups pretty much set. You already know what you're going to do, especially with a game like this, Texans-Cowboys. You already know what you're doing. But what do you need? So what we do here is we drop the blue rally cap. Drop blue rally caps on everybody else in the comments. Let's get some good luck for each other. Let's build a community here. What do you need in the comments below? I want to hear that. On top of that, click that subscribe button right now because we're doing these deep dives all the time on these games. We're going deep on the waiver wire, even though the waiver wire isn't super sexy going into week 12. And we are doing deep dives on all the trending players, multiple players a day, so you can make the best decision for yourself, so you can use your guts to tell you what to do. Click that button. Stop missing out. But looking at this matchup here, Texans, Cowboys, and I do not have any expectations for this game except I believe that all the talk shows are ready for tomorrow morning to talk about how bad the Cowboys are, and they're ready to talk about the playoff push for the Texans, talk about CJ Stroud, Nico Collins. I believe they already have things dialed up and ready to go. They're ready to go for this because this game should have been flexed out. I'm surprised this is what we're watching here with Cooper Rush and company against the Texans on a Monday night. They could have had a different game in there that could have been more competitive, that would draw more viewers. We got a 41 over-under. I could see that being in that range. I could also see that breaking the other way. I could also see in this being a low-scoring game and the Dallas Cowboys just being able to hold on tight, making it ugly. I believe Texans get it done. The spread says that. You got a spread of 7 and a 41 over-under. That is an indicator that the Texans could get 42 themselves. That could potentially happen. I see that too. I see this game script going a million different ways. But I can definitely tell you when we get deeper into these players that you can get a good idea of how the fantasy points can be concentrated because you look at these quarterbacks. How many of you guys are starting Cooper Rush? 2 QB leagues, I get it. Deeper, 16-teamer plus, maybe 18, 22-team, 20-teamers. Probably, maybe in some leagues. Maybe in DraftKings, maybe FanDuel, you take the cheaper salary and you start to get the higher-priced players jammed into your lineup. You're trying to do that. That's probably how you're starting Cooper Rush. CJ Stroud, we made it to Monday. And you're probably looking to start him if you have not picked another quarterback yet. This is a good opportunity for him to go off with Nico Collins back. I look for him to be a good start. How it could break bad is the Cowboys holding on for dear life. The first few series break their way defensively. CJ Stroud has started cold a few times this year in games where he probably shouldn't have. That has happened and slowed things down. That could happen and slow this game down. However, we're open to break this wide open, and that could happen. I look for it either to be ugly and slow or a rout by the Texans. Joe Mixon, I can't see anybody looking at you with a straight face and saying they're going to bench him. I just don't see that happening. He's getting a lot of work. He's been hot. I don't see that happening. You have to be supremely blessed at running back for you to do so. The Dallas Cowboys, about middle of the road, a little bit worse than league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to running backs. But the thing is, they can break to them. They broke to Alvin Kamara. Dave Montgomery went off. Isaac Rondo had that long run. Bijan Robinson did it. They can also stifle running backs. That's also due to game script. If the game script gets very slow, low scoring, if they make it a dogfight, I can definitely see that happening. That's how Joe Mixon could run bad. More often than not, it doesn't matter. You're going to start him. He's going to at least give you baseline of around 10 to 12 with the potential to go nuts. That's what we're seeing here. Baseline's going to be good with the potential to go nuts. And the targets and touches are concentrated. Your second best runner on the team with production is Cam Akers, and he's been with the Vikings for a bit. I think you feel very good about Joe Mixon because he's been on a hot one. And now we're looking at Nico Collins coming back, and Nico Collins back is a good thing for this entire offense. CJ Stroud will look better. The offense will open up more. This is good for Tank Dell. It's not like he's zapping all the targets. Things open up more. Nico Collins will get his, and he will get funneled targets. Healthy on the field. He's getting it deep downfield. He will get the opportunity. And I've had a lot of people ask me start-sit questions with him, and I think he's a fundamental just starts. He's Nico Collins, and it's like asking Puka Nacua or any of those wide receivers, unless you're supremely blessed at the spot and you want to play it safe, that's okay. More often than not, 75-80% of gamers are starting Nico Collins, and they're just going to roll with what happens. How this could go bad is if the game script just goes bad. And like I said, I have no expectations for this game. I see the over-under at 41, but I also have no expectations because I can see the Texans getting 50 in this one. I can definitely see them getting 30. I can see this game being 10-6. I can see this all over the place. Tank Dell is going to be a little bit of a gamble, but he's also going to have some upside volatility in this offense because of Nico Collins being back, things being stretched out more. You don't have to funnel coverage to him even more now. And the Dallas Cowboys allow fantasy points to top wide receivers every week in PPR. The top wide receiver scoring gets over 12 PPR fantasy points just about every week. On the low is just George Pickens at the Pittsburgh. That was a weird game. On top of that, you're looking at John Metchie, Xavier Hutchinson. And when you're looking at those volatile plays, it's kind of likely to happen, but something you don't want to bet on or gamble on. One of those wide receivers doing something. One, it's the Cowboys. And then two, Nico Collins just opens up the game script. Metchie's going to be worked in and out of the slot. We got to see how many routes he's running. But he could sneak up on you. Same with Xavier Hutchinson. I just don't see him used too often because Nico Collins is back and they're going to run a similar tree. And you're looking at Metchie here getting more routes over Robert Woods over the last few weeks. Hot last week. Earned more opportunity, might be in and out of the slot and the outside, and in and out of the lineup in general. That's something to look at for DFS, or you are gambling pretty hard with your lineup. That's not a stress start or stress sit. We look at things objectively here, but there is room for opportunity, especially if the Texans are up back into the game. They pull Nico, they pull Tank. Next thing you know, they're using Metchie, Xavier Hutchinson, and company to finish the game out. We could see that. We could see a lot of targets to Nico Collins. We could see Tank Dell getting the rest, and it's just too concentrated to them. However, with Nico back, it stretches things out and makes it easier for the other pass catchers like Dalton Schultz. And nobody wants to talk about the Dalton Schultz revenge game against the Dallas Cowboys, but here we go. Not too reliable for fantasy football and has not been reliable during this stretch run with Nico Collins out. However, the volume was there. This is a good matchup. If you're thinking about it, him versus Ferguson, I'm probably rolling Ferguson. I don't like either choice really, but there could be volume to either tight end. You just flip the coin. Just flip the coin. That's my answer for you. However, Dalton Schultz gets opportunity. Things will be spread out more with Nico Collins. The Dallas Cowboys are about league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to tight end. And then recently, since week 5, 11.2 to Freiermuth, 12.2 to Sam Laporta, 24.8 to Kittle, 10.5 to Goddard last week. They'll allow fantasy production to tight ends. We could see that today. It might be a decent baseline for Dalton Schultz. I see a game, we're probably pushing around 9, and if we get the touchdown, we can get a little bit more. Maybe we can get into tight end 1 status that way, although it only takes a few points to get in tight end 1 status. Last week he was at just 9.6 PPR fantasy points. That's how the position rolls. Now you're looking at Rico Dowdle here for the Dallas Cowboys. Rumor has it, or the news states, that he's going to get all the workload. And if you're chasing touches What I mean by that is you're looking at a running back that's getting workload, but the offense isn't optimal. It's not like he's Saquon Barkley. It's not like the matchup's going to be pristine for him. However, touches could randomly lead to fantasy points, and that's a gamble for you. You're looking at what Houston is doing against running backs, a little bit less than league average when it comes to allowing fantasy points to running backs. But since week 7, 20.2 to Josh Jacobs, 18.7 to Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall 10.5, Jahmyr Gibbs 12.8. The thing about that, look at those running backs versus Rico Dowdle. Rico Dowdle's not really a slouch. He looks good on the field, on tape, and everything else. But I think you can make the case. Gibbs, Hall, Taylor, Jacobs, different animals at the running back position. Look for him to get an okay baseline at least. You're hoping he crosses the goal line. I don't see, well, there's potential for it. But the Cowboys should at least get you 7-10 points in this game. Should at least get you a little something. They should be somewhat there when it comes to scoring. That's something to look at. They should be able to do something. I don't see them really getting shut out. That's a rare thing in football. It could happen. I look for it to be ugly on their end. Rico Dowdle, if you're looking for touches, you already made the choice with the other running backs. Here you go. CeeDee Lamb is expected to play. I expect things to be reduced a little bit, but he could be going off anyways, getting a good target share, but still be reduced a little bit due to the quarterback play. The Texans will allow fantasy points to wide receivers, and they're very consistent. They will break, and they will bend. They will do both when you look at them week to week. That being said, CeeDee Lamb, you're probably just starting him. I don't see anybody really just benching CeeDee Lamb, especially at this point if you got that choice. Jalen Tolbert's a gamble. He should at least get 5 targets in this game. He's been due to hit. Jalen Tolbert's a guy to look at. The rest of the wide receivers are just gambles. But Jalen Tolbert is the main gamble you're looking at. If you're thinking about Jonathan Mingo, you must be in a super deep league or you're gambling in DFS. That being said, Tolbert, deep gamble. You're just throwing him in if you have to. CeeDee Lamb's got some upside here. He's CeeDee Lamb. He's always going to be available for you as your main squeeze. You're probably starting him due to fundamentals. Might not be as optimal due to the quarterback play. We knew this going in anyways. Jake Ferguson, with the Texans allowing a decent clip to wide receivers, they may just use Jake Ferguson a little bit more around the middle, and he might get a little bit extra opportunity. You're looking at what's going on with them versus tight ends. Recently, week 6, 13.1 to Henry, 12.3 to Kraft, and then 15.6 last week to Sam Laporta. It's up and down. They'll shut you out at tight end, and they'll also bend a little bit. And this is a matchup where they could bend a little bit. They have not went up against stud tight ends. Like, they have not consistently this year. That being said, there's opportunity for Jake Ferguson to do a little something, and he's pushing a 20% target share. You got Cooper Rush back there, and they'll cave to wide receivers, so he might get some wide receiver looks in this passing game because he's a main threat in the passing game, pushing a 20% target share at the tight end position, which is very good. You're looking at Jake Ferguson. You're probably rolling with them. You already made that choice. The targets are looking good, and that could be the bottom line for your fantasy football team. But that's the matchup leading into Monday night. Remember, drop what you need from your players for the night's game. We're going to drop that blue rally cap on you. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.